All right, it's time to admit it. CM Punk was right about AEW President Tony Khan. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what he was right about and why I think he has been proven to be right. Look, I've been covering pro wrestling for the last 10 years professionally for some of the biggest wrestling news sites out there, and I've followed AEW's journey since it launching in 2019. I remember it very vividly, right? The start of 2019, they post the BTE clip, right, of the Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, that group, right, them launching AEW. And AEW has been such a great thing for wrestling. I have bought tickets to AEW event when they came here to Oklahoma. I have watched their weekly programming, Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision, although I have legitimately given up on Collision and Rampage. If you look at the landscape of AEW, it's in a very tricky spot. It's in a very interesting spot, and it's in a very concerning spot. If you go back to CM Punk, a guy that had walked out of WWE, had not really done anything in wrestling since his departure from WWE in 2014, him returning to AEW, or returning to wrestling through AEW in the summer of 2021. There was so much optimism, there was so much excitement, there was so much hype around CM Punk's return. And initially, there was. But then he started doing these wacky promos about trying to elevate guys, and he wanted to push the younger talent. And it took a while for AEW to get him into real main event programs. MJF's, Hangman Page, right, Samoa Joe, all this stuff. And so you look at what AEW was able to do with CM Punk. They made him the world champion multiple occasions. But his AEW run also was plagued by injuries, right? And backstage drama, right? The all-out incident in 2022 with the Elite, that was bad. Ultimately, him getting fired by AEW due to the All-In 2023 incident with Jack Perry over a ridiculous thing. Him trying to politic his way through AEW, it was pretty ridiculous. I'm not saying that CM Punk's run in AEW was all due to just, it was completely Tony Khan's fault. And I'm not also saying that it was completely all CM Punk's fault. I believe the reports about how CM Punk, he looked down on AEW, and he really all along wanted to be in WWE. If you look at the way that he acts, he is legitimately thrilled to do anything that WWE asks him to do. He is having the time of his life right now. So that leads us to today's topic. If you recall, a few months ago, CM Punk, he was on Ariel Helwani's show, and he was talking about his WWE run, how that came about, his AEW departure, dealing with Tony Khan, and etc. And he talked about one of the points of his frustration with Tony Khan, with its wrestlers, and with AEW in general, was the fact that he felt like he had the old school mentality of pro wrestling is not about having great matches. It is about delivering on feuds and matches that draw money. And matches and storylines and promos are just a vehicle to drawing money, right? It's the final destination. It's not the destination. The destination is that check you pick up at the end of the night. How you get there is by promos and matches, right? He's all about drawing money. But if you look at Tony Khan, he has taken much of a New Japan approach, which is the final destination is having great matches, right? You do the storyline to get to the matches, and the matches is the payoff. And if you draw money, great. And if you don't, well, we had a great match. I think Tony Khan is wrong in that. I think CM Punk is right in that. We are trying to draw money. A perfect example of that is AEW's interesting partnership with New Japan, right? We are on the cuffs of a third annual Forbidden Door pay-per-view event. Now, the inaugural one, the idea of doing this show, okay, if you're a New Japan fan and an AEW fan, sure, you want to see some of them collide. You can do some dream matches. The only problem is, every single time they've done this, every single year, the returns have dropped off significantly, whether that be ratings leading into the show or pay-per-view buys or just overall interest. Me, who will very rarely watch a New Japan match unless I know of a talent or a great match on the card, I don't go out of my way and watch New Japan. New Japan's interest thus far in 2024 is greatly down. And so I did a recent video about MJF and about how they have made various mistakes with him, including booking him against a CMLL guy at Forbidden Door instead of booking him against someone from a New Japan who's a top star or an upcoming star or a upcoming or a top star from AEW. And if you look at Tony Khan's booking, which has continuously and really growingly been criticized, he looks at what will make a great match instead of what will draw interest, ratings, live attendance, pay-per-view buys, additional revenue. What can we do to sell to the audience instead of what kind of match can we put on? You are Tony Khan. You are a son of a billionaire. You have 3 jobs. You work all the time, and you probably consume more coffee than a human being should. And you can't get out of your own way. I, as someone who has legitimately bought every single AEW pay-per-view, and yes, most of it was due to work-related, someone who has bought tickets to AEW an event, who watches their weekly programming, who covers their business, who shares their press releases. I want AEW to succeed. It is better for the pro wrestling industry. But I'm starting to really be concerned about what Tony Khan is doing. Why are you making these decisions when you know the outcome isn't? Right? And if you are looking at what CM Punk talked about, and if you are listening to what past stars or past announcers or past employees have talked about, or these rumblings that come out of there where certain guys don't want to do jobs or don't want to put someone over, and they're just simply told, well, fine, you don't have to. Or if you go back to the CM Punk Jack Perry incident where CM Punk has alleged that Jack Perry was telling people to, screw off because he wants to do this real glass angle and no one would step up to him from a management standpoint, a higher management standpoint, aka Tony Khan, and even Tony Khan wouldn't tell Jack Perry anything and he wanted Punk to tell him that. That is a bad sign of a leadership. And I just hope, I really, really hope that Tony Khan will turn things around just a little bit and focus on drawing money, because if you draw money, then that's more money that AEW makes, which goes to the talent, which goes to further expansion, which helps everyone in the pro wrestling industry. That's my point. It's not to nag on Tony Khan. It's not to nag or be a hater of AEW. I'm not. I just know if you take the approach of let's draw money with feuds and matches that draw well compared to will it get a 5-star rating, I think it's better for the pro wrestling industry. And that's all I want. That's all I want. I want them to succeed.